Today, we're tackling the mother of all power scaling videos. We're breaking down the absolute monsters of the grand line in every category you can think. Let's set sail into the grand line of One Piece power scaling. Let's kick things off with armament hockey users, because there's so much to unpack here. We're talking about the ability to literally create invisible armor, and the masters of this technique are on a whole other level. Remember Sentomaru? That guy was introducing advanced armament before we even knew what it was, sending people flying without touching them, but he's small fry compared to the real monsters. Take Garp for instance, they call him the Fist for a reason. This dude was punching mountains to dust in his prime and going toe-to-toe with the Pirate King himself, all without a devil fruit. It's insane. Then you've got the Kuja warriors, who've got such fine control they can imbue their arrows with hockey. Imagine the precision that takes. But even they pale in comparison to someone like Katakuri, who can shape his armament into weapons. The applications are mind-boggling, and we can't forget Zoro's recent power-up, cutting Kaido with his armament-infused swords. The fact that he could even scratch that monster's scales is a testament to how far he's come. But if we're talking pure, unadulterated armament strength, you've gotta look at the Yonko. Big Mom's Ironheart skin is so tough, she's never been injured until recently. And Kaido? Forget about it. The guy tanks hits that would obliterate normal people and keeps on going. It's like trying to break a diamond with a toothpick, and yet, even they might not be at the pinnacle. Rumors say that Roger and Whitebeard's clashes were so intense that they didn't even need to touch to cause destruction. That's some next level armament right there. Now, swordsmen in One Piece are a whole different breed. We're not just talking about guys who swing sharp metal around, we're talking about masters who've elevated swordsmanship to an art form. Zoro is constantly pushing the envelope, coming up with new techniques like Asura that blur the line between swordsmanship and the supernatural, but he's still got a long way to go before he reaches the top. Take someone like Vista for example. The guy was casually dealing with Mihawk during the Summit War like it was no big deal. And speaking of Mihawk, the world's strongest swordsman is so skilled that he turned a giant butter knife into the most feared black blade in the world. The guy can slice mountain-sized icebergs from miles away with a casual swing, but even Mihawk might pale in comparison to the legends of the past. Ryuma was so powerful that his exploits turned into myth, and his zombie corpse was still giving Zoro a run for his money. And Odin? Don't even get me started on Odin. This absolute mad lad was the only person to ever wound Kaido, and he did it with pure swordsmanship skill. The fact that Roger and Whitebeard both acknowledged his strength tells you everything you need to know. When it comes to science-based fighters, One Piece takes it to a whole other level. We're talking about people who have pushed the boundaries of what's possible with pure intellect and innovation. Dr. Vegapunk is the gold standard here. This guy's so smart that his inventions are centuries ahead of their time. They cracked the secrets of devil fruits, created artificial ones, and even managed to imbue inanimate objects with their power. The Pacifista? All him. The ability to control sea currents? Yep, that too. It's like he's playing 5D chess while everyone else is still figuring out checkers. But Vegapunk isn't the only scientific powerhouse. Judge Vinsmoke's genetic modifications are nothing short of miraculous. He literally rewrote his children's DNA to give them superhuman abilities. Imagine being able to command poison, electricity, or even turn your body into living steel. The ethical implications are horrifying, but the scientific achievement is undeniable. And then there's Queen. This guy's a triple threat genius, scientist, cyborg, and ancient Zoan user all rolled into one. His plugs can decimate entire armies, and his body modifications are so advanced, he can reshape himself at will. Remember when he turned his entire body into a snake? That's not even scratching the surface of what he can do. We can't forget Caesar Clown either. The guy's a certified nutcase, but his chemical weapons are no joke. He created artificial devil fruits, albeit flawed ones, and his gas-based attacks can kill in seconds. And let's not overlook Frankie. He might not be as high profile as the others, but the guy turned himself into a cyborg using scrap metal and cola. That's some Tony Stark level ingenuity right there. Now, when we talk about monsters in One Piece, we're entering a whole new realm of absurdity. These are beings that defy common sense, creatures so powerful they seem like forces of nature rather than individuals. Oars was just the tip of the iceberg. This mountain of a zombie took the combined might of the entire Straw Hat crew, was Gecko Moria's shadow powers to bring down, and he was just a corpse. Imagine how strong he was in his prime. But Ore is a small fry compared to the real monsters of the New World. Take Jack the Drought for instance. This guy fought for 5 straight days and nights against some of the strongest Manx in Zoo, and when he finally lost, he was more annoyed than injured. His endurance is off the charts, and let's not forget his fellow All-Stars, King and Queen. These guys are so tough that even Big Mom considered them a genuine threat. Speaking of Big Mom, she's a monster in every sense of the word. This woman has been a force of nature since childhood. She was taking down giants before she hit puberty. Her strength is so immense that she can crush cities without even realizing it when she's having one of her hunger pangs. And her ability to imbue objects with souls turns everything around her into a potential weapon. But if we're talking pure, unadulterated monstrous power, it's got to be Kiyabu. They call him the strongest creature in the world for a reason. This guy's introduced falling from a sky island, crashing through several floors of a fortress, and walking away without a scratch. His dragon form is big enough to lift an entire island, and his hybrid form combines that monstrous strength with martial skill. The fact that it took the combined efforts of the worst generation to even stand a chance against him speaks volumes. We can't forget about the Sea Kings. These massive creatures are so powerful that they can sink islands with ease. The fact that the ancient weapons might be able to control them is terrifying to consider. Just one Sea King is a match for a battleship. Imagine what an army of them could do. Now, let's dive into the realm of mysterious abilities, because One Piece is full of powers that defy explanation. We're not just talking about devil fruits or Haki here. These are abilities that seem to break the rules of the One Piece world itself. Take Cavendish, for example. His alter ego, Hakuba, moves so fast that he can cut down an entire block of people in the blink of an eye. It's not a devil fruit, it's not Haki, it's something else entirely, possibly tied to some kind of split personality disorder. Then there is Ivankov's Emporio Hormones. Sure, it's tied to a devil fruit, but the ability to manipulate hormones to such a degree that you can change someone's gender or give them adrenaline boost powerful enough to keep them fighting past the point of death, that's pushing into the realm of the miraculous. We can't forget about the Vensmoke siblings either. Their genetic enhancements give them abilities that seem almost magical. Raiju can suck out poison, Ichichi can control explosions, Neji manipulates electricity, and Yonji has superhuman strength. These aren't devil fruit powers, they're the result of science so advanced it might as well be magic. And what about him? We know next to nothing about the mysterious ruler of the world, government. But the mere fact that they can sit out on the empty throne suggests they have some kind of power or ability beyond our current understanding. The same goes for the Gorosei. How have these 5 old men maintained their positions for power for so long? There's got to be more to them than meets the eye. Even some of the more normal characters have abilities that don't quite add up. How does Sanji light his leg on fire without burning himself? What's the deal with Zoro's Asura technique? These aren't explicitly stated to be Haki or devil fruit powers, so what are they? Proceeding with observation Haki users, this ability is just mind-blowingly cool when mastered. We're talking about a 6th sense that borders on precognition. Remember when Usopp first awakened his observation Haki during the Dressrosa arc? That moment when he sniped Sugar from an impossible distance was insane, but it's just scratching the surface of what true masters can do. Take someone like Katakuri, for example. This guy's observation Haki was so advanced that he could see several seconds into the future. It made him practically untouchable in combat. He was dodging attacks before his opponents even thought of making them, and the way he combined it with his Mochi Mochi no Mi to shape his body around attacks, pure genius. But even Katakuri's future sight pales in comparison to some of the other fates we have seen. But if we're talking pure sensory ability, Fujitora might take the cake. The guy's blind, but his observation Haki is so refined that he can perceive everything around him in incredible detail. He can sense the movement of clouds in the sky, the shift of tectonic plates, and even the tears on people's faces. It's like he's got a constant 360-degree radar that picks up on the slightest changes in his environment. And we can't forget about the application of observation Haki in non-combat situations. Remember how Rayleigh could sense the number and strength of creatures on Rusikaina Island? Or how Luffy could hear the voice of all things during the Fishman Island arc? These aren't just combat techniques, they're expanding the very way these characters perceive the world. Now onto the wild world of devil fruit users. Oh boy, where do we even begin with these reality warping powerhouses? Let's start with Logia users because these guys are just broken. Take someone like Crocodile who can turn into sand at will. He's practically invulnerable to physical attacks and can dehydrate anything he touches. But he's small fry compared to the likes of Akainu or Okiji. These guys can enhance the climate of entire islands with their powers, but Logias aren't the only overpowered fruits out there. Some Paramecias are so ridiculous, they might as well be Logias. Look at Blackbeard's Yami Yami no Mi. He can create and control darkness, nullify other devil fruit powers, and even pull entire islands towards him. It's like gravity manipulation on steroids. And then there's Whitebeard's Gura Gura no Mi, which let him create earthquakes and tsunamis with a thought. The guy was literally called the man who could destroy the world because of how powerful his fruit was. Speaking of reality warping Paramecius, we can't forget about Law's Opinomi, the ability to create a room where he has complete control over everything inside it. That's just unfair. He can teleport objects, swap people's personalities, and even grant eternal youth at the cost of his own life. The applications are endless, and then we've got the zones. At first glance, they might seem straightforward. You turn into an animal, big deal. But then you've got monsters like Kaido with his fish fruit, model as your dragon. Not only does he get the strength and durability of a dragon, but he can also fly and breathe fire. And let's not forget about Marco's phoenix fruit, which gives him the ability to regenerate from almost any injury. It's like he's got a permanent get-out-of-death-free card. But the real game changers are the mythical zones. These are so rare and powerful that they're considered a class above even the Logia fruits. Look at Orochi's Yamata no Orochi fruit, which gave him 8 heads and incredible durability, or Sengoku's Buddha fruit, which lets him turn into a giant golden Buddha with immense strength and a shockwave attack. These fruits blur the line between reality and myth, and we haven't even touched on the more bizarre fruits yet. Imagine being able to control and inhibit the shadows of others like Gecko Moria, or turn anything you touch into art like Giola. How about Jewelry Bonnie's ability to manipulate age? These fruits might not be as flashy as some others, but in the hands of a creative user, they can be incredibly dangerous. The world of One Piece is full of these mysterious abilities, powers that don't fit nearly into the established categories. It's part of what makes the series so fascinating, because there's always another layer of mystery to uncover. See you and bye.